Hey guys, it's the Gardening Moose here, and I'm out on site on a project that I am working on here, and just want to take a minute and show it to you. And I'm outside, or out on a job site here, where I'm putting in some new perennial beds, which is something that I absolutely love, and I thought I'd take a few minutes and just kind of show you what I'm working with. So this is before, well, slightly after we got started, so I'm super excited about being out here on this site. They've got great soil to work with. It's really nice. But we're going to come in and amend this soil anyways like I like to, and I just want to show you guys what I'm going to be doing. So far all I've done with this site, and I'll walk you around here and kind of show you what we've got going here. It's got an absolutely gorgeous porch, a porch that I would really die to have. I could spend all day out here on this thing, and what's more is I could load it full of hanging baskets. But so anyways, as you can see, these beds are pretty much empty. There's one peony there that we're going to dig up and move. Otherwise, this is a completely blank slate that we're working with. So let me tell you a little bit about what I've done here so far. All I've done is I've hauled in an inch of compost. This is a steer manure compost, and I put down an inch of it on top of the existing soil. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and till this up. I should have brought a tripod out so that I could set this up and let you guys watch it on time lapse, but I didn't do that, so I'm not going to put you through the pain of watching me do it. But I'm going to go through, I'm going to till this up, till that compost in, and then I'll catch you back on a second part of this video and show you what I'm going to do next. So I'm still out at this project that I'm working on here. As I talked to you before, I had just put down an inch of compost, and then I was getting ready to till it in, and I just want to give you a look there at what I've done until that end. So I took that inch of compost and I worked it to about 12 inches deep in the soil with my tiller. Still a little bit clumpy. I'm not quite done yet with what we're doing here. So the next step I'm going to make is I'm going to take what I call planting mix. This is a mix of Utelite. It's got some pumice in there, some peat moss, and then also a compost material. This stuff is really fine, and yet with that peat it does a great job of holding moisture. And so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come through this all these beds and mix in an inch to even 2 inches of this planting mix. Now this planting mix is a little bit different. You could plant directly into it. Just put it on top, fill your beds and plant into it. I prefer to mix it in and incorporate it in with my native soil. And by the time we get done, this is going to be like butter to plant. And so I'm going to go through, do that, till it in, and I'll check back with you and show you the results of the soil and show you what it's looking like. And we'll do that in a little bit, and then I'll walk you through as well when we start planting and putting in the drip irrigation. So anyway. Hey guys, the Gardening Moose here, coming to you again. I'm still out here working on this same project, and I actually was just checking Facebook and responses that I've gotten to people who are asking for questions on, or I asked a question about what kind of videos would you guys like to see, and some of the answers I got, one of them is especially is relevant to what I'm doing right now. So I'm out here getting ready to plant some new perennial beds, and of course, with perennials, the hope is that these beds are going to be here for many years to come, and that these flowers are going to be in those beds and growing and beautiful for years to come. And so one of the most important things that I want to be able to do with this, or that you want when you're doing a project with that, is you want to spend the time to get your soil right to begin with. It will save you money in the long run. It's a hard job, and it takes a lot of work to get it right. But if you do it, it'll cut back on how much water you use in the future, how much fertilizer you use in the future, and it's going to cut back on chemicals in general as you try to solve problems that you could have solved to begin with in the future because you didn't take the time to do your soil right. And so I've already filmed a little bit about what I've done with it, and now I'm going to show you where I'm at and what I've done to this point. So if you remember, I had added, when I first started, 1 inch of steer manure to these beds over the top of them. And then I came through and I tilled that steer manure in, and I tilled it to a depth of about 10 to 12 inches deep. Then I came through with a planting mix, which is a mix of sphagnum peat moss, Ute Light, pumice, and compost as well. And I actually ended up putting down 2 inches of that material on here and put it in. Typically, I like to use 4 inches of soil amendments when I'm starting a new soil. But the soil that I was working with out here is naturally a very nice sandy loam, and had been in a flower bed where it was raised up for a while. And so I just don't feel like I need that 4th inch. So I've added 3 inches to this. After I put those 2 inches of planting mix in, I came through and tilled this again and raked it out. So let me kind of show you. I'm going to reach down in here and just push my hand down in. Give you an idea. I mean, I'm easily 12, maybe 14, 16 inches deep just with my hand. In fact, I've dug a big enough hole right there with my bare hand that I could plant a 1-gallon pot in there. And I could probably dig a hole that's deep enough to put a 2-gallon pot in without even using a shovel. And so this soil is like butter. And it's going to be fantastic to work with. In fact, I'm planting this tomorrow, and it's going to be absolutely awesome because I'll just use nothing but a small hand trowel and plant it. So let's talk about some of the reasons about why you would take the time to do this and why you would take the time to prep your soil and get it right. First of all, here in Cache Valley, Utah, a lot of our native soil is very heavy in clay. Every now and then when I'm working out on the west side, especially the northwest side, Preston, Lewiston, that area out there, I find some really, really nice sandy loam soil that is awesome to work with. In fact, I love planting out there. Hint, hint. If any of you got projects out there you want to do, I love doing it in your area. The soil is so nice and so easy to work with. But even if you're not in that situation and you're like the rest of Cache Valley, or a lot of other areas that are out there, and you're dealing with a heavy clay, heavy rock soil, the first thing I would do is make sure your soil is damp enough that you can work with it. You don't want it wet. So if you push it through your hand or squeeze it in your hand, you don't want a nice solid ball. And you also don't want it so dry that it just falls apart on you. You should be able to take it and rub it through your fingers and kind of make a ribbon with that soil. And if you can, that's the perfect moisture level to go through and till. And so first things first, go through and till your soil and break up your native soil. And then start hauling in your organic matter. Our soils here in Utah are naturally very, very low in organic matter, and that's because we're an area of the country that gets very little rainfall. We don't get to enjoy the beautiful soils like they have in the Pacific Northwest or back east where they get a lot of rainfall. They have a lot of plant material that has broken down and decayed over the years and built up their soils naturally. We just don't have that here. We live in more of a desert climate, and so we have to provide that stuff ourselves. And so I love using all kinds of different composts. I use steer compost, I use chicken compost, I've used turkey mulch. Some of these places that sell this kind of stuff have what they call planting mixes, and I'm a big fan of those. I love using sphagnum peat moss. Ute Light is awesome. Pumice as well. There's a lot of options out there. In fact, speaking of pumice, let me pull that out of the beard there. Sorry about that. But any kind of organic matter that you can get into. Naturally, our soils are 1-2% organic matter. If you look at the Perennial Plant Association, they'll tell you that you really should be up around 10% organic matter in your soils for perennials. And that's what I'm shooting for. So like I said, I like to add 4 inches of different organic matters. So don't do all compost. And make sure any compost that you use is well aged. Get it from a reputable source so that you don't burn things up. So anyways, guys, that's a little bit about prepping soil and getting things going. I'll continue on with this project and keep you guys filled in and show you the planting. And as well, we're going to be doing a drip system with it as well. So keep tuned for that. Have a great day.